Right, here we are. Good evening, everyone. M0SDM. I'm here tonight with SKARS. Got a few members tonight. We're doing well. We've got 7. Highest number we've had all year. Things must be locking up. Right, and with that, straight round to Steve.
Right,
M0 NMA.
Okay, right, today, got a couple of things to show you. I thought I'd bring them along in case some of you may have these already. We've got 2 little black boxes. Don't worry, this is not an unboxing video, although I will open the boxes and take the contents out. One's a Nano VNA, and the other one is called a tiny SA. Nano VNA, it's a small vector network analyzer. Tiny SA, it's a small spectrum analyzer. They both cost somewhere around 50 quid, or at least they did when I bought them. You have to be careful, do a bit of research, because there's a lot of fakes around. So ideally you're looking after the ones in the black boxes. They've started copying the black boxes as well now. But Nano VNA, what would you use it for? So it basically allows you to interrogate things like antennas to work out how what the SWR looks like. I use it usefully to track down faults in coax cable. So you can hook these up to a PC. The PC will then give you access to some more functions, and you can use, I think it's called TDR, I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but basically it sends a signal down the cable and it can work out where the break in the cable is. So you just hook it up to your cable, go along, it'll say this cable, you tell it what type of cable it is, it'll say this cable is 10 metres long, and you think, no it's not, it's supposed to be 30 metres long. So you go 10 metres down, roughly, and you go, oh yes, something's cut through my cable. So it helps find things, particularly bad joints. Last time I used it, I managed to find a faulty SO239 connectors. I'm not going to get into the 239 versus the N-type debate. So what do you get? You get in the box a number of things, a few connecting cables, and some very tiny dummy loads, and these are used for calibrating. So I turn this on. Basically, there's a little bit of startup, and you get a little Smith chart. Don't worry too much about what a Smith chart is, because most of it I ignore. So you can buy this and use it quite simply. You end up just doing the things you need, and then so for example, there are 2 channel inputs. I've only ever used channel 0. Haven't got into what we'll need the second channel for. I'll learn that eventually. But the first thing you have to do, there's a little fiddly bit at the top. There's a menu. Jog switch, and the first thing you have to do is configure it. Can't do it upside down. So no, calibrate it. So you calibrate this, and there are little options on here. And the first thing you're going to do is put an open load on. So the first thing it does is you've got to work out which one of these is an open connector. It's the one without the pin in. Stick it on channel 0. And if I use this little thing, my fingers won't get in the way, you go open. And it goes, I'm happy with that. I'm now tasting an open load. Next thing it asks for is a short. So you put a short in and tell it, yeah, I've connected a short. Here you go. Disconnect that and put this one on, which is asking for a 50 ohm load. I tell it it's got a 50 ohm load just by tapping that, and then I have to say done. So at that point, this is now calibrated. It knows what open, what short, and what 50 ohm looks like. And you need to do that every time you play around with the frequency change. It just makes it more accurate. The default frequency sweep on this is 100 megahertz through to 500 megahertz. So it's quite wide, but you can make it from 7 to 7.2 if you wanted, if you were looking at the HF band. So what can we do with this? So the easiest thing I'll do is, oops, hang on, go back.
If this was connected to a PC, would it be a lot easier to use?
It's a lot easier to use, but I didn't bring a PC tonight. Let's have a look at antenna. Here's one I brought earlier. I won't use that one because that's the wrong way around. Yeah, that's better. So literally all you do is you connect this onto here. And what you can see straight away is this is a 270 SEMS. You can see there's a little yellow line going up and down, which I'll turn it around here for the guys on the outside. basically giving you your SWR on here. And it's saying, if I move the jog wheel along, this is great for showing on, where are we? Where's my thing gone? You should be able to see a little triangle moving around, and it'll say there's a low point down here, which is at 390 megs. Keep going. You're looking for that little yellow one. It's gone down to the bottom, so it's really good at 232. I keep going left, and I go down to the bottom down here, and it says it's 136. So that's this one saying your low SWR is around the 2 metre band. So this one's obviously designed to work better on the 2 metre band, and you'll often find that with the road ducts. It might be for 2 and 70, but they're going to be better on one than the other because it's going to be a compromise. And of course, that's not quite in the middle of the band because I wouldn't be using it like that. It would actually be on the radio. No. You're part of the antenna, so but that just demonstrates the sort of display you get. So that's the Nano VNA. The only other thing, I'll turn it off now. The only other thing that I would say is the way these connectors work. They're little SMA connectors, but when you spin round, eventually the little pin in the middle will wear out the contact in the middle of one of those.
You put some on as
so I bought 20 of those for about £5 off eBay, AliExpress, and basically I put these on, so I do that very occasionally, and when that wears out, throw it in the bin, put another one on. It just saves the connectors.
Very good bit of advice.
Can you use it as a signal generator?
I think you can, but I said I haven't, because that's where you come from.
Yeah, I mean...
You can, it will do a single generator, but to be honest, I haven't done Stuart, so...
Now you mentioned it about the length of cable you can check. We've got a radar unit for that, which dates from about 1973, made by Cossa for the military. It was £7,000, and we bought these from Anchor's Surplus when I was at Nottingham Radio, and what happens is it looks like an oscilloscope. It's got a built-in battery if it worked, but it plugs into the mains, and so you've got a 3-inch screen, and it will show up for open circuit and down for on the screen. So you've got the line, and then an up and a down, and depending whether it's open circuit or short circuit is whether it's up or whether it's down. If you look at this line, you can set the thing to whether it's 10,000 yards or whatever, and then you can work out off the graphical that there is a break in the cable 6 feet away. And I've even used this in car, and you say, yeah, there is a break, it's under the back seat. And so it's setting out a radar pulse. I wouldn't do it, if we were probably in the Ukraine, I wouldn't be doing this. Probably end up with a dodgy missile on it. You send out this radar pulse, and that's how it works. And we bought these from Anchor's Surplus, I think they were £50 a pop. So at the time, I'm going back to probably 1983 when I bought two, one for work and one for myself. So there you go, that's a facility from Cossa. And you're supposed to parachute in because nothing is doing coaxial, it'll do telephone line. So you've got a field telephone system, and you think, oh, it doesn't work. You can put that on either end. Your two stations are 2 miles apart, and it'll say at 10,000 yards, we can work that out and parachute somebody in to fix it. Can't get back.
I'll just thinking, you just asked the question about Stuart, whether it does a signal generator, and I suspect it does, but
Put the antenna on.
that makes more sense.
if it's measuring a slide, it must be putting like a sweep.
Putting a signal out into
No,
it.
it's not. Not thinking about it. I was thinking, and I know when I use these on my HF bands, when I leave them running,
You hear it.
You hear this tick 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 tick, tick, which is basically the sweep frequency going across. And I thought I might be able to pick it up on here, but of course this is an FM radio. It's not going to do anything. It'll have a momentary carrier, but the carrier won't be there long enough for it to respond and turn on. Whereas an SSB radio would.
Yeah, the only thing you do is put the sweep so narrow that
it stays there.
Yeah.
But if you could set it to one frequency, so it just...
It would transmit on one frequency. But I said there are 2 channels on here, and I know that the other channel is where you get some of the output coming from that feeds back through.
You can make
So basically you would...
traps and stuff.
That's right, I keep putting it on. That where the 2 come into, if you want to test like a filter, it'll put a signal out there, you put it through the filter, it goes back in there, and it will tell you, you can then work out what the frequency response to that filter is and where the cut-off points and the Q factor and anything else you're interested in. So that's the Nano VNA. The reason I put them back in the box...
Don't muddle them accessories.
Well, you can muddle the accessories up, but it doesn't look that different.
No.
Not going to do it. So the spectrum analyzer is basically just monitors the input signals. Again, there are 2 inputs on here. I have used both these. One's low, that goes up to about 300 megahertz, and the other one is from 200 megahertz up to 900 megahertz. So it's not the widest spectrum analyzer, but for most of what you need, it's not bad. It'll enable 2 things. So probably the easiest way of doing a quick demo on this, and I'll do a little bit more later on, is turn this on. It has been calibrated. You need to calibrate it, and there's instructions on the web that basically put the 2 together and go through a series of tests, and it comes up. The biggest thing you'll see if you go on the internet is I've done the test and it fails on test 11 or test 12. That's normal because you've got a copy. So that's an easy way of finding out whether you've got a real one. It's a bit late if you just bought it. So I've put this on here. So now I'm monitoring low, and I've got a very big antenna on top. But if you look on there, you can see it's actually picking up a signal. There's a little signal down here.
What range is that at the moment?
This is scanning 0 to 350 hertz, megahertz rather. We're not getting very strong signals in here. But the one it's picking up strongest should be around
Keep your handles up there.
Yeah, 220 megahertz, which is the DAB bands. Yeah. So typically, what you'll normally see here when you turn this on this is you'll always get something on the DAB band, and you'll also, depending how close you are to broadcast stations, you'll see the VHF, the 88 to 108 megs. There's not as much activity on that as you would normally get. Oh, if I turn myself into an antenna, there we are. You can see it's now picked up down here. So I'm just showing you these guys over here as well. So that's the DAB band. When I turn myself into an antenna, you get more activity down here, which is all your VHF stations. The thing you need to know about on this, it works, it's cheap, and it has no input protection. So basically, you put more than 10 dBm, which is 10 milliwatts into it, you'll blow the input stage.
Yeah, the track you can get in the 40 dB track.
You can do that by getting a strong signal into that antenna.
Yeah.
So if you transmit too close to it,
Put your handheld next to it and give it.
I can do that now. So
I'll tell you about my telly customer later,
this one.
who destroyed his portable television.
So I'm just going to put a quick. I'll transmit on 145.5, and when I transmit here, you should see. So I'm getting it off the band so I don't annoy too many people. I mean, quicker to key this in, wouldn't it? Right, so this is now, I'm just running what should be 1 Chinese watt out of this Baofeng. Turn it on, and
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's that cropped up next to it?
Yes, what's the other thing that's next to it?
what's the other thing that's
Yes.
next to it? I don't know. Right, so you've heard about Baofengs.
Yeah.
So you'll see on this one there's a big spike. That'll be on the 145.5, and if I do this, oops, I'm gonna have to. Can you key up? You key up. Right. So I move this little. You see the little pointer along the bottom hops along. I just use the jog wheel till I get to it, and it'll suddenly jump up.
Is it like 400 something or?
And that says it's on 290.6. We're transmitting on 145.5, double up. That's the second harmonic.
Really is dual band then.
It's dual band. Right. So I'm going to turn this off while I do this.
Could we not try the Yaesu and see if that does the same?
Okay.
I'd also be interested to know if you walked to the other outside building, how powerful is that spike really? But if you're 100 yards away, do you actually see it at all? Because we're right next to it.
We've got two handhelds. If you put that frequency in one of the other ones, we'll see if it's picking it up.
So here, so this is a Yaesu, which you would hope would be reasonably.
No.
Turn the lock off.
Took a few seconds to change the frequency on the Baofeng and half hour on the Yaesu.
Yeah, it's because I put the lock on. Right. There's so many options on this. Right. So now we are. Yeah, we're now running.
Oh, it is there.
Yeah,
So-
it's not as big.
Not as big, but
it's not as big. So just for comparison, that's the we're transmitting with the Yaesu. If I go onto the Baofeng,
It's nearly as strong as the signal is putting out.
Just go to the other side of the door and.
So take that.
yeah, so there's 30 dB, nearly 30 dB difference between the second harmonics
Both
and
of
those two. Yeah, both of them.
And what difference does the aerial make? Because that longer aerial is going to be like
It will change. Yeah, it's a difference.
Yeah, no, good there, you'll be okay.
Well, you wouldn't know it was any further away, would you? Really?
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot cleaner.
Yeah, it's a lot cleaner, and the Yaesu is putting out more power.
Yeah.
So, right, thank you.
Could you set one of those to what the harmonic is and see if you can hear it on the radio?
This one's probably the easiest one to do that. So, hang on, no, we don't want that one to do it. We want to do it the other way around.
We'll transmit on the dirty one.
Yeah, you need to transmit on the dirty.
You're quiet, man.
He's probably cold, isn't he?
He's always cold.
You know, long steady year's been and gone now, isn't it? It's all downhill from now. He's probably.
Oh dear.
Right, so this is all. So we've now got two radios. We have a Baofeng on 145.5 and a Yaesu monitoring on twice that, 291. If I key up, you'll see it probably goes to full deflection.
Yeah.
Do you want to? If you take it for a walk and do a little transmit, and we'll tell you whether we can hear you.
If you get as far as McDonald's.
1, 2, 3, yes.
Yeah.
Hear me now? Yes, 1, 2, 3, okay. From off this out. To the bottom of the grass.
You've gone.
You've gone.
Yeah. So when you start
Right,
getting QSL cards
so what
on
we
a
need
band,
to do
which
is
you don't
then
know.
four.
Some old dear's probably listening to on DAB now or something.
290, that into military air band.
I don't know.
Around Coventry, wouldn't
They
it?
probably think he's a Russian. don't give your call sign out.
Oh, well,
Can do.
I'm transmitting on the legal frequency. I just happen to be transmitting on the illegal frequency as well.
Yeah. So
Did you hear me all the way?
no, we lost you by the way. Right. So now, what I've just done now is switch to the third harmonic.
About 10 metres.
Yeah, it's
Okay. You like doing it again?
Do it again.
We're now on the third harmonic. Interestingly, I'll show you how to do this without going through antennas and walking outside in a minute.
You hear me, yes? Yes. So through the door, just through the door, I'm now a quarter of the way down. I'm half the way down. Three-quarters of the way down.
yeah.
And I have got to the end of the grass. And that's it.
Keep going. Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
You can come back.
Okay. So further away to the halfway down the church hall, and the end of the church hall, I'll get to the gate.
And that radio is on 1 watt.
Yeah. So just to clarify, that's a Baofeng that's transmitting on 2 metres and it's been received on 70 sems. And it's running a watt. And it's coming out.
I'm happy with that.
Oh my gosh.
come back, we can still hear you though. We can still hear you.
It's better range than the kiddies walkie-talkie.
You can still hear this.
Yeah.
I've got to walk behind brickwork, look. I'll just do this. I'll go walk behind the brickwork. So I've just gone behind the hall. So I'm behind the brickwork, a bit of an attenuator between me and you. And now I'll come back.
It's a very good demonstration.
It is. The tiny spectrum analyser is not receiving it anymore. But obviously the it's probably blown up. Baofeng's blown it up, but the ASU's working well.
Yeah.
Don't know how far you want to go walking, you know.
But that's not too surprising because the tiny SA, if you look at the reading on the side, it only goes down to about -90 to -100 dBm. And this thing, Yaesu will pick up, it starts to lose signal about 123, 124 dBm, which is a lot lower signal source, that nearly 1,000th of the signal strength. So it's not surprising the SA lost sign, because the tiny SA isn't really designed.
No, it's chalk and cheese, isn't it?
What you should be doing on this, if I turn everything off, the reason I turn everything off is it's just good practice. And there's my bag.
Ben's just opened a can of lager.
Right, so what you need to do is you connect.
I'm sharing.
Connect. Yes. We'll go back into the load. You need to connect the radio directly to the tiny SA. Now, do you remember I said something about how much power you can put into this?
Yeah.
So if this is putting out a watt, and this will take a maximum of 10 milliwatts. No, 10 microwatts.
About 90 dB attenuated.
You need some attenuators. So the best way of doing it. So these again aren't too expensive, so they're almost disposable parts. Oh, I've got two on there. I was wondering why I had two screw ends. It's because I've got one of those left in. Right, so what I'm going to do now is to reduce the power, take the antenna off, stick the big one on here. Well, I'll put the big one on here because this is a 10 watt, 30 decibel attenuator. So that will absorb all the power from this radio, and by the time it comes out of here, it's taken that 1 watt and turned into a milliwatt, 30 dB and attenuation. That's still not enough. So I'll get one of these and find the one that said, this is where I should have brought better glasses, 30 dB. So then stick this on here, so I've got another 30 dB. So I've gone down by a factor of 1,000 and then taken the milliwatt down to a microwatt. So that's why I need that one. So basically I'm feeding 1/1000th of the power of the Baofeng. That's where the dBm sort of hide how efficient things are. So we now go on, all being well. I'll now turn this on, and if I transmit again, you'll see I've got a nice big peak here, which is at minus 29.7, call it minus 30 dBm. And I'm running out of hands again. If I transmit and then move this across to the other one, so the second harmonic doesn't look as bad on this. That's now minus 85, so minus 30 down to minus 85. That's 55 dBm down, isn't it? It's supposed to be 60 dBm to pass the FSCC test and another test, so not legal. Not as you would particularly notice it.
So
we know in the real world, actually, that one you've managed to get about 10, 15 metres away before we started to lose you.
Yes, that's now on a dummy load, so the transmitter's liking that better.
Yes.
Once it's on an air, it goes more spurious.
It goes spurious, correct.
So is it that the VSWR not being perfect makes the transmitter
Yeah.
do weird things?
So the next thing is this, remember I said there's two inputs, low and high. I can now go and go down to mode, and I can switch to the high input. So now instead of going from 0 to 350, this is doing 240 through to 960. So this now it should see the second harmonic. So I'll transmit on here. Yeah, you can see in fact you get the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth and the sixth. You can see, you see all those spikes is there. The biggest one by far is that third one, and that's reading minus 60 dBm. So you've only got 30 dB attenuation. Okay, that's a factor of 1,000, but you've got 30 dB attenuation on your third harmonic, and that's the one. So conclusion from this is when you do a...
What's it like on 77s, just before you disconnect it?
Of course, on 77s, right. So if I go on to...
So why are we saying Baofeng shouldn't be sold in the UK?
It was all anyway.
And yet we've all got one.
yeah.
Well, hopefully that you know the back.
So transmitting on 77s, we've got again, oops, something like that.
Is it putting more power out on
Yeah.
77s?
So you can
then?
see the little bit at the top showing more power.
Yeah.
So it's gone red, which says I'm getting towards the top end of the range. I don't want to go too much. It's blinking on and off, so it's close. This is coming in at minus 28, and then we'll hop over to here to the first one, which will be around here.
So that's going to be 900 odd then, so that's in the phones, isn't it?
Good. Doesn't affect me.
Right, so transmit on here, that's on 887. Yeah, so the reason the thing at the top's turning red is it's obviously putting out a little bit more power, still on low power. So it's putting out a little more power, but the top line, the colour, is not driven by any one peak. It's saying how much power in total am I seeing.
Yeah.
So it's telling you about all across the whole range, and it's probably going higher than 960.
This is the problem with cheap power meters. People turn these radios up themselves on a cheap power meter. They go, look, I'm doing 7 watts, and it's only supposed to be 4. Aren't I clever? But when you put it on a selective power meter, most of that's probably on aircraft band.
So we could have a net now then on 1.3 gigs then, could we, if we all use Baofengs?
Yeah, we could do. Right. So I'm going to try and do now very quickly, if you're interested and you haven't lost this yet, is connecting. I've taken everything apart because the SMA connectors on the Yaesu and the Baofeng are the other way around.
Yeah.
So I'm going to flip everything upside down.
See what sound.
So that, and don't need that little one now. So I will. Well, we're on high here, so I'll just connect on high anyway. So that's the. It should show. I'll make sure I'm not blasting the power out. Just one more. So we're back on 145,500, but we're now looking at what should be the second, third, fourth. And you remember, you saw quite a few peaks on here, but if I transmit on this one, they're still there. So even the Yaesu's got them, and they're still looking pretty peaky. So it's not necessarily just the Baofeng that's bad. And this one you'd expect what are these, 20 quid? Second hand, this was 200. So 10 times the price, probably 20 times the price if you go for a brand new one. It's not massively different on here. However, this one, I know from repeating the exercise we did earlier, it transmits, the combination of this and the antenna transmits a lot further on the harmonics than the Yaesu does.
And is that a Is that a small radio problem? Is that do base stations do it as well? Is it?
Baofeng's probably just missing filtering, isn't it? That's all it is.
So if you buy a base station and you pay a bit more money, the filtering should be better, so you should get less harmonics. In theory.
The Baofeng's done it.
Yeah, so the so what of all this is, you can test your radio for not a lot of money with one of these. It will show you, and if you tried both ends, you'd find some probably actually do not a bad job, and others will be bad. Because the quality control on these is a lot worse than what the control on these.
That would be the next thing to try, wouldn't it? Everyone bring the Baofeng in.
Yeah, do that.
For about 5 different times. They're actually all the same, but...
What were you saying? You looked on AliExpress and how many thousand watts is one of them at the moment?
They're getting crazy, aren't they?
Oh, was it 12,000 watts? 9,999 kilometres, apparently.
Yeah. The claims on both ends, if you haven't been looking online, are getting crazy at the moment.
Well, I'll bring it up and show it to the camera.
I say it was. I think that one was 12 quid, and the 3 of these was about another 12 quid.
Yeah, 99,000 milliamp hour battery. It's excellent. Oh, one of them.
Gosh.
And for 21 quid, you know what?
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to show these. If you want to have a play later, please do. That's there to have a look at. And so not expensive. Certainly not compared to full price test gear. Richard, I don't know.
I've got a special one I do recently, 3 years ago. 250 quid plus VAT trade, and that's the cheapest one I could get.
Yeah. So.
And that lets you put 1 watt into it.
How much?
1 watt is it?
You can put a watt into it.
Yeah. And if I put 1 watt into this with forgetting to put the attenuators in, I'd be a bit upset.
You would, yes.
So if I put
Not
1
as-
watt into yours,
not as
10
upset
watts
as
into
Richard
yours,
would be.
You'd be devastated.
Absolutely.
He put 10 watts into his.
Yeah.
Right,
So I've got a tracking generator and all kinds of things, so you can be tuning filters live and all that.
yeah. So you'd expect them to be a bit better.
Of course.
Expect to be a bit better. So the other thing I'd like to talk about briefly, as Stuart put out in the note for the meeting tonight, is Brickworks. How many of you remember the Beyond Exams presentation we did during lockdown? This was
I do.
2020.
Yeah, I remember it happening.
So Brickworks is basically a rebranding of.
What was wrong with
Beyond
using
Exam.
what they've got?
They changed their mind about what they were doing, and then relaunched it, so they've called it something whizzy like Brickworks rather than Beyond Exams. Never mind, the purpose of this is really to encourage people to go out and do things. So the idea is quite simple. I brought 3 bits of paper. I'll put links on Facebook later, so anyone wants to have a look, you can find them. But basically the idea is encourages amateurs to have a go at perhaps trying things they haven't done. So there's a list of 23.
Can we do pre-7B teleprinters?
Yeah,
We could do.
I'm sure some
Could do.
people
It's
would
not-
love
I
that.
know some experts.
It's not quite on the list. But the idea is having a go. It's things like log 50 VHF UHF contacts with unique amateur radio stations. You can't have 50 conversations with one person. But basically, most people, if you've been operating for a while, are probably at that or have exceeded it already. Log contacts in 3 of the home countries, so Scotland, Ireland, England, Wales. 50 HF contacts with unique amateur stations using CW or foaming modes, any HF band. 50 contacts using digital modes. 10 contacts with SSTV or FSTV. 10 contacts with digital voice modes. And a contact, so they only want you to do 1, through satellite or through the ISS, any mode, any band. Some of these aren't difficult, but remember the idea is to get you out and doing things. So if you run down that list, you might go, yeah, done that. Oh, I haven't done SSTV. And the whole point of this is maybe we could do SSTV. And then like we're doing a talk today and just showing things, it would enable us to pick one of those each month. And then just, if you want to do SSTV, how do you do it? And then we could, do a demonstration and that might encourage people to have a go.
Did that last month.
We did.
Yeah, so we're already, good point,
SSTV.
Stuart, we're essentially already doing it. But this gives us some structure and perhaps gives us another purpose to do it. What else happens? When you've done it, you put the input into a spreadsheet. I'm in discussion with the RSGB at the moment because that's what I'm supposed to send them for everybody. We are in the accredited club already, but it keeps a record of what you've done, so all the activities and when you've done them. When I started this, we first launched in 2020, and you could count back to 1st of December 2019. So they're keeping that start date. So anything you've done since 1st of December 2019 counts. And I've made gold level, which is I've done 10. I've added up now, I think on 16 or 17, which means I get a platinum award. So the idea when we've got that, we then send that as the club through to the RSGB. They're going to keep a list of who's done what, how many awards have been given, what attainment, and the simple thought was we can also put that on our Facebook page, and anybody on the Facebook site who isn't yet a member of the club, if they want to do that, we can set them up and do that as well.
And what age group's it targeted at?
It's age group, it's targeted at anyone who wants to have a go.
Oh dear.
Yeah, you've got things like attending club meetings, taking part in club nets. So most of the people around the table here probably are at gold or platinum level already. Diamond level, all 23, might be a challenge.
Chippy's never built anything with valves.
No, building things. Build a piece of amateur radio, electronic or mechanical equipment for your shack.
Well,
30-line mechanical TV.
So we've made some ATUs.
Well, you used to do that for your intermediate, didn't you, at one time?
Yeah, we did. Write an amateur radio related piece of software that you can use in your shack or design a simple website.
It's like flipping wars. One extreme to the other.
Yeah. So you got that. Introduce someone to the hobby, then starts a foundation course. Interesting challenge, it'd be useful. Attend a rally or exhibition. Again, many of us will have done that. Help run a training course at your chosen club scheme, accredited club by teaching, supporting, running practical sessions or invigilating. Yeah. So the point is, a lot of us will have done a lot of that, but not everybody will have done everything. And the whole point is try and get people to try new things. So
I've done moon bounce.
Okay.
One bedroom to another when I was at Nottingham. I was we lived G4RX and myself, Nick Button at Nottingham. We lived in the same house. This elderly lady took us in. She had students. He was a student. I was a student. And but I was living away from home, doing my church organ building apprenticeship. You see, so he was a licensed amateur, and I was. So we set up gear for moon bounce. So he was in his bedroom, and I was in the next room. Switch it on. Are you on for it? Yes, I am. Yeah, we're through. So we did it one room to another. We did it.
And it wasn't the second harmonic.
No. Did we do tropospheric scatter? Was that so yes, I once had a Russian contact on 77's SSB on 100 milliwatts, and I had that for about 28 seconds and it was gone. He was doing 100 milliwatts, I was doing 10 watts. So that was back in about 1983.
But I've done that on 80 metres. I was chatting to somebody down in Devon, and we were just having a chin wag, and the propagation seemed particularly good. It was around midday. This was about 6-7 months ago. And basically all I did was, do you mind if I turn the power down? So I turned the power down on my icon. I was running 50 watts at the time, and just went 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. 1, 2, 3, 5, and back up to 50. I said, when do you lose me? He said, I didn't. I heard you all the way down to 0. I had a 0 on the dial, which I know is about 150 milliwatts out of the rig. And you can still hear, he said it was full quieting.
Yeah.
It was just, and I wasn't hearing much else in the UK at the time. I think it was just, there happened to be propagation between the two of us, and it was very, very good. Back to brickworks. Is it worth giving it a go? we can try. Maybe I'll be the only person in the club that does it. Maybe I won't. You see, if a few of us start doing it, others might go, well, I can do that. Why can you not gold? I can do better than gold. A bit of competition doesn't do any harm.
Oh no, but you see, my training is that if you're doing all right, you've got to stop and let others go not only where you were, but beyond you. You've got to be the self-sacrifice. I did always, like, when I was at school, sports, I stopped to tie my shoelace halfway down the 100 metres so the other lads could beat me. The PE teacher said I ought to do it again. I told him where to shove it.
And you still won't?
No, I deliberately would do that. I let James May learn to play the piano better than I could. He took a grade higher than I ever did. Mind you, he was doing the piano to get onto the harpsichord, whereas I was doing the piano to get onto the organ. Oh, that was brilliant. I mean, he's got this thing. When I did grade 7 organ, halfway through the exam, this bloke comes in, sticks a transistor radio on the font in the church where I'm playing all these posh pieces, and he's sweeping up the floor, transistor radio, singing along to some pop song on the thing. I'm trying to play this organ for an exam. So at the end of the thing, the examiner says, well, you will be hearing from us, Richard, but when our man came in to try and put you off, you coped with that very well. So it was part of the exam. Because in reality, you're in a church and people come up to you, oh, that's a nice organ, when was that built? Yeah, in 1430, still going into, Yeah, so things happen.
So the idea is if I'm logging on HF, I also have to log on that as well to get my brownie points. That's sort of how it works.
Well, no,
Or do I just go back to?
Well, can't you photocopy the page?
I mean,
I'll go back to HRD as I use and say.
Yeah, go back through your loggers.
and it's really on an honour system. If you say you've done it, we believe you. Because what's the point otherwise? You're only cheating yourself. So for example, I went through. I thought SSTV. I've done 10 of those. I thought, I'll just check. I went back through my log, 9. So I'm going to do another one.
Yeah.
And then I'll
I did fast scan telly because when I was at Nottingham Radio, by this time I wasn't staying with Mrs. M and Nick. We've got a flat in a house we owned at the back of the place, and the GB3N, it was the 1.3 23 SEMS repeater for fast scan colour TV. Well, it was in our work. It was on our mast, and I was only 100 yards away. So when I built a transmitter to do 23 SEMS fast scan colour TV, I never had to do an output stage because it was only there, wasn't it? So I only had to run 10 milliwatts. So it was pretty good going. So I got some good contests because when there was some good weather conditions, you were into Europe with fast scan colour TV, and I found that quite good. That was back in 1983.
Give Richard his award now.
You got a pen?
I'll send you the form. but all I'd do, so if anybody's interested, let me know. I'll send you the spreadsheet, and then you just fill them in. And when you think you've got an award, let me know, and then I'll then notify the RSGB once a month how many people have made progress and put a post on Facebook.
In terms of as a club, what in mind? I've never done SSTV. I'm going to have to start. I've never done satellite. I mean, I wouldn't know how to start. I've never done it.
Yeah.
So I sort of know how to start. So there's that end of the bottom end of your list. I was going, in my year since I've been back, actually, I've done all that.
Yeah.
It may not be 50, but it's, it might be 40, but you pretty much have done it. But that sort of level, the bouncing off the ISS and stuff, no.
Yeah.
So an SSTV. So.
And it's hard. Well, I found working satellites hard.
Yeah. Which put people on point. There is a geostationary one now.
Well, no, I've done it with a white stick.
Right.
I've done it with a white stick at home using the Icon 9700, which does do. It's got the 2 satellite. You can run UHF and VHF at the same time. And I did it by taking the white stick and working out that this pass is going to be not directly overhead, so that's not good. It's good for signal strength, but unless you're going to follow it with a Yankee. So if you get one that's about 20, 30 degrees above the horizon, you just cant the thing over and it'll see more or less the full pass. It's not as good, but I still managed to work.
You're not trying to do this all the time.
One person, so I've got one contact. But I also know I got heard a lot more because somebody said you are being heard, even though you're not hearing them. So I was getting out into that, so people contact you via email. The advantage is it makes you try and do something that you wouldn't have done. And then I got all excited about it and thought, actually, the easiest way is all you do is you get a 70 sems and a 2 metre Yagi, mount them on a boom, put them like that, put them on the thing, drive it with a little motor so it tracks them, hook it up to the computer, and there's instructions on how to do it. And I thought, I haven't got time for that. So I use the Yagi, I use the device instead. But
What, sorry?
Put them on camera tripod, just swing it around.
Yeah, I've done that. I put a Yagi on a 270 Yagi, which does both. You get intermittent fading on the signals if you do that, because you've got a straight horizontal or vertical polarisation, but the satellite basically spins around, and the signals are circularly polarised, so you have to swing it a bit like that as well. But what happens is if you don't do that, you just get fading. It comes and goes, which means that when it's low on the horizon, the signal's weak, you get it or you don't. But when it's closer, there's a window when it's not too far away.
So how are you meant to do it? You meant to use circularly polarised antennas?
A lot of people use handheld ones.
Oh, they twist them.
They do, they move you around.
There's an antenna called Arrow, partly because I think it was made from arrow shafts. The elements are from arrow shafts, but it's basically length of aluminium, 2 metres one way, 77 the other way, handle on the end, and then you know roughly where to point it in the sky, and then you use your wrist to try and get the signal.
We did it out there one night.
But before my time.
Well, it was before your time, but I'm just saying we've done it out there, you know.
But if you're doing SSB, so you're trying to work out the signal, the satellite is, you're twiddling it around, you're now trying to tune on here the frequency, and if you've got a computer controlling the because transmit goes one way and receive goes the other way, so one has to go up and the other has to go down, and you're trying to tune all that. Oh, and now I need to transmit.
Clear them on
the mic.
Even with SM, you to put frequency up and down a little bit.
But ISS, if you're lucky, that'll work the ISS just on its own. 145.8. If it's overhead and they're listening and happy to chat to you, which is rare, then that's all you need. Because even though it's only got 5 watts, and you probably only need 1 watt there, it's line of sight, and there's nothing between you and the space station because it's going straight up in the air.
So with the
but you don't know you like that.
With the Yagi or with...
With that,
So you set one frequency on UHF and one on VHF?
The ISS is different.
Oh, right.
ISS operates like a normal repeater.
Oh, okay.
So 145.8, 145.2.
I thought it was still cross-band.
Yeah, they do.
The ISS still cross-band? It was last time.
Yeah, it is. It's cross-band. Oh, so it's not cross-band, it's got a standard offset. But there are cross-band repeaters on the ISS as well.
I'm going to say there's different ones running all the time.
But most of the satellites are cross-band, so they're 2 metres receiving, 77s transmit, or sometimes the other way around. And it's...
Just so they don't need a filter.
That's it, just wear the filters, not
you don't need a filter up there, which weighs too much. The ISS
some of these new satellites
big enough to have a cavity filter up there. Whereas some of the satellites up there are much bigger than the CubeSats, a bit bigger than that, but that sort of size rather than a space station size.
I wonder how the Russians feel, the Americans, when they go over the top of Ukraine and the Russians are saying nothing's happening. And they're watching it.
Well, I thought it was interesting that they were on the last uploads when the new Russians turned up. They turned up in blue and yellow suits, claiming that was all the material that they had left.
Yes.
So they turned up in blue and
I
yellow.
don't know what's going to happen to them when they get back home to Russia.
They won't go back.
Who's dropping us off in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we hit your lift or put it back? No, it's quite deliberate. So that's it. So I'll post more on the Facebook page, and I'll send an email out for those members within the club on what you need to do if you're interested in taking part, and we'll take it from there. Hopefully, a few people will be interested. Might get more people interested. But if you're out there, not a member of the club, please feel free to take part. If you need any help, just put a post on Facebook, and one of us will be along to answer very shortly.
There are 6 people watching, so
I think buying a van and turning it into a Radio Shack should be a thing.
oh, what? Sorry.
Buying a van and turning it into a Radio Shack should be a thing for the brownie.
Yeah.
Because I've done it, and somebody else has done it, and
Well, I've done
you're
it
in the way.
Well, I've done it before.
It seems to be the.
Build a piece of amateur radio related electronic or mechanical equipment, that'll give you a van
Yeah.
for your shack.
Yeah.
Your van is the shack.
Well, put a mobile set in your van. Jobs are good, and
We did those ATUs anyway.
I would put that at the more ambitious end of the things you need to do to tick that activity off.
Yeah. And full air conditioning.
and a microwave.
And a microwave.
All on a 5 amp fuse.
And full heating.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just buy a small CW Pixie set and transmit with that for all about £10, which is what I did. What Stuart was saying earlier, you needed to do a practical part for your intermediate level. Mine was building a CW transmitter, which I managed to blow up very quickly.
I built one with ours.
Half a watt transmission power, but if you put 9 volts into it, it blows the transistor if you hold the key down.
My UBX
It went
is
pop.
like that. If I put over 9 volts in it, it takes the output. Nice.
Well, the transistor is nice and cheap, so I just took it down, put another one in.
Just as well we put that removable one in.
Socket holder.
Been in the bimber now.
Yeah. This wasn't in the socket holder.
No, mine was.
I said to you when it broke, I said I wouldn't use socket holders, but it sounds like that's the idea with them.
Yeah. I've blown 3 since then.
I made another of the cheap Chinese tuners, and I put it in a box the other night. But instead of using the sockets that go on the board, I put some proper 259 sockets on. Anyway, I tried the tune; it wasn't working very well. It's kind of working, but not working well. And I took the flipping the centre pin connector to the outer of the new socket, and vice versa, crossed it over. It kind of worked. But it works a lot better now. Yeah. Well, that's it then. I think the battery's nearly flat, so
Okay.
we'll
That's
say
it for tonight.
good night to all you watchers, and back here again in.
And get your certificate here.
Yeah, get your certificate. Right, see you all later.